There are two very large global trends going on in terms of optimizing websites. One is localization and one is mobile. So what that means is today when you do a Google search, chances are you're going to find local results before you get general results. What it also means is that the mobile platform is growing by leaps and bounds. So by all means, yes, your internet presence should be optimized for mobile, which means smartphones as well as tablets. Different organizations can put that in different places on their priority list. The easiest way to know is to check the analytics on your website. And you can check how many people are accessing it by different devices. Now, that having been said, there's different ways to go about optimizing your internet presence for a smartphone or a mobile device. One is to have a website that works on your mobile phone as well as the web. One is to invest in a mobile website, which oftentimes will have totally different needs, all right? Besides the obvious functionality differences, one of my favorite examples is there's a retail store in the States, I forget which one, but on their normal website, you have to really look to find a store. But on mobile, it's listed twice in the top menu to find the closest store. They have a totally different website for their mobile. The third possibility is to build an app instead of a website. So there are different options, and it's going to be different depending what your goals are. But certainly mobile is growing by leaps and bounds. People are accessing it all the time.
Well, some of them will last, and some of them won't. That's the easy answer. I think that you should use something as long as it's productive, and as long as you don't necessarily become overly reliant and be upset if it goes away. Or maybe you should just, use it while you can, because you might be upset one day when it goes away. But I think that it's really hard to predict what the lifespan of any one app is. Who knows how long Angry Birds will last, right? I mean, it keeps reinventing itself. You see what they're doing. But anything that's a single-use app, WhatsApp or Bizaboo, which we used for the President's Conference. It's a conference networking app, which I thought was great. It's not being used for this conference. But I think, that's a great app. It might be replaced by something even better tomorrow. But I'm not going to wait for tomorrow thinking maybe there'll be something better. I'm going to use what's available to me now. So it's about being nimble, and that's one of the words, that's nimble or dynamic, that you hear a lot in the internet space, because it applies to websites also. That your website does need to be revised every couple of years, but in the meantime, you may want to change something about your website. You don't want to be locked into a frame that you can't add content to. So it's about modularity and being responsive to what your organization needs in the world as it changes.
Right. In general, just to take off on what Esther said, you should never be dependent on any third party. That's just good business practice, all right? Which is also the answer to, do I need a website if I have a Facebook page? Okay? So all of these are tools to expand, and like I said before, our internet presence is no longer just a website, so we should be using them, but your website's still home base. And it's yours.
Debbie Golan from Israel, Atid Bamidbar. I was wondering if you had any tips, experience about resource development using social media, specifically in Jewish contexts. We know about Obama's successes, and I've heard about root funding, but I'm wondering if there's not a tension here between the trust that you build in the relationships and asking for money, or do you get people to ask for a campaign for you? Is this a way of engaging and making them a call to action, basically? That I was interested in your thoughts on this, because it's something that's occupying my mind as a possibility for for trying to develop?
Right. Well, I could say that that people ask me for stuff all week long. Like I get like 3 requests for people every day to like either give them money for something that they're doing, to give them free advice for something that they're doing, to share something that they're doing, to please retweet this important video. Things like that come across my virtual desk about 3 times a day, and it's kind of annoying and overwhelming. I'm going to make very serious choices about what I pass on, because I know that I'm not just representing myself, I'm also representing all the other entities that I represent. So I think that, you know, it's fine to ask. You just have to be prepared to be turned down. And also not to be annoying, not to be a nudnikit about it. You know, it's like if you're going to ask me, if you have launched a Kickstarter campaign or an Indiegogo campaign or a Juicer campaign or any Razoo, any of the other like online fundraising tools, if you're launching a 2-week campaign and you're emailing me every day, I am not going to help you. So if you're respectful about it and you say, Esther, you know, I've read your blog and I know that you deal with this area. I thought you might find this interesting. There are many ways you can help me. If you'd like to help, feel free to make a donation, tweet it out via Twitter, share the hashtag, share it on Facebook. If you know anybody in this field and you can connect me to them, that would be great. You know, it's really about offering different modes of engagement and being respectful about it. So, and also about doing the research. Like if somebody, I get people who ask me to do things for them, it's בהחלט look en kesher. There's really no connection at all between what they're doing and what I'm doing. They just want my network. And it's fine if they're honest about that and say, I know this isn't really connected, but we really want your network. I might respect that more than saying, you should write about this because you want to write about this. And I'm like, I read it and I say, no, I really don't. I really don't. But thanks. So I think it's about the respect. It's about making the appropriate ask, just like you would with any donor. And I think that, you know, it's about creating that relationship and saying, I see you have a blog. What are your readers interested in, and how can I help you with content for that? And if not, thank you for your time. So that's the kind of request that I am more likely to respond to well.
I think that it's all about relationships and trust. So the successful campaigns don't just kind of post stuff out there. They've already worked hard at building an online following. And so that when it comes time for that ask, which should be part of a campaign, and that campaign should be part of a larger online strategy, then it's placed at a point when people are most likely to give. The people, look, it's really no different than online. I mean, than offline, right? If I came to you right now and I asked you to give me for some cause, those of you who are in the room who knew me before today are going to be more likely to give than those who met me today. Same thing online.
Sorry. No, it's fine. I was just waiting. I just wanted to ask you a 2-part question. One was about social media fatigue. I think, like, in my personal experience, there's times when I'm like super engaged and then I'm like, whew, like, oh, I forgot to talk to my husband for the last 6 months. That kind of thing. So I think people have cycles of involvement, and also as that applies to engagement with certain online sites or communities, because there's no way we can maintain constant active engagement with every single community we've ever been a part of. Like, we will probably cycle through them. So what is the do you know anything about any of the research that's shown about what is the general length of time that people remain in a community on an active basis? And the other thing is, I'm concerned, like, from our perspective as people who are trying to engage people in a community of givers, of supporters for a large organization, that generally, I think, with social media, there's a very quick in and a quick out as well. So that you end up catering to the lowest common denominator. And how do you move people through levels of engagement? I mean, I'm thinking, like, the parallel is, like, you go from being you go to the annual dinner and there's everybody there, and then there's some people are invited to sit on this committee, and then you move up to that committee and that committee, and is there any parallel within the social media world?
Okay, so the fatigue, I don't have statistics on social media fatigue. I just know that from anecdotally from my Facebook feed that occasionally friends take a sabbatical, and usually it's not actual Shabbat that they take. It's usually not. It's not a year. Usually it's between a week and a month that they take off, and sometimes it depends on the person and the personality. Obviously, also sometimes it's a cry for help. Not help like Vafen Ritzini, but it's kind of like it's a cry for no, please don't go. You're going to miss so much. But for the most part, it's not that. It's just that people get overwhelmed by all the information and decide to take a break. But it's just like the analog is any kind of break from anything. So like it's going on vacation for a week. It's going to a silent meditation retreat. It's doing yoga in the morning instead of like watching TV or whatever you're doing in the morning. So like I think it's the analogy is right. I don't know. I live in LA, so there's a lot of yoga just happening at random times and places. But I think there are obviously always going to be new tools that are coming onto the horizon, and the choice will always be, do I engage via this tool or not? For instance, Pinterest, which Jay Michelson spoke a little bit about this morning. I'm not a Pinterest person. Like it doesn't catch me. And I know that if I ever advise an organization on a social media strategy, I will mention Pinterest as an option. But I won't necessarily champion it the way I would champion Facebook or Twitter, depending on what the organization needs, unless it's a visually based organization, in which case I would say, you really should look into Pinterest. It has like tremendous reach right now. It's got a very hot buzz. I don't know a lot about it. And it's about that honesty to know that you can't know everything about everything. You can't use every tool all the time. Because unless you are a full-time 24/6 social media educator and consultant. And that's madness, because it's all day long. There's no 9 to 5, because especially with international causes, there's always something happening somewhere. And so I think it's a really overwhelming thing to think about. So I don't have the statistics, but I do encourage people to, when they feel like they need a break, take a break, because you're no good. That they say on the job is that you're no good to anyone if you're burned out. And I think that that's true here too.
I think that one part of the question is just simple time management. And one of the things that I found very helpful in time management in general is to allocate certain time for certain things. So, if Facebook is part of your job, so say, okay, so whatever, 1 hour, 2 hours, however often you're going to do it, and you're going to do it in 15-minute increments or 20 minutes or whatever, but allocate time and set it. The other thing is to use different platforms for different reasons. So for instance, when I started on Twitter, I was really into it. And looking back, I don't know how I had the time to do it. But I was very engaged, having conversations all the time. I met lots of people. And slowly, I didn't have that time anymore. My interest shifted. Now, I'm pretty much on Twitter when I'm at conferences. I live tweet a lot. On Facebook, I share a lot of resources, a lot of articles, things like that. So you can choose what you're doing, and that will limit the amount of time that you're spending. All right, so I'll take a very kind of basic example. I started a Facebook page for my synagogue. I thought it was ridiculous that they didn't have one, and no one else was doing it, so I started one. Our synagogue is a conservative synagogue here in Jerusalem, so right away we had lots of people from overseas that have been connected, and they friended us. And I was faced with this issue. I think we had more overseas members than local members. But I knew that people were on Facebook. Now, at the same time, last summer, we were having a problem getting people to Friday night services. It's late, it's hot, it's whatever. So I decided I was going to organize a Ben & Jerry's ice cream party. Okay? Come to shul at 6 o'clock, have ice cream for an hour, and then we'll have tefillot at 7. I posted pictures of all the different flavors on the Facebook page, and I told people to like up to however many flavors they wanted, right? But you can only vote once per flavor because you can only like once. And people responded. And all of a sudden, there were people from the shul were coming to the Facebook page. They had a reason to come. There was a direct result. We had good ice cream. Who can say no to Ben & Jerry's? So it's a very simple example. Okay, it's maybe a crude example, but think what you can do just to get them one level up, to get them engaged. And again, like I've been saying, integrate it, offline and online.
And I would also just add to that every time somebody likes something on your page, that's a note of engagement that you didn't have before. Because lots of people come to the page, they view the page, you can look at the insights, you can see there are people coming to the page. But once somebody leaves their imprint and says basically, I was here, they want you to know that they're watching, they're listening, and what they want to know in return is that you see them. I think that that's one of the reasons that Facebook has taken off so much, is because people want to be seen and acknowledged and validated. And I think that if I say I like Charlie's Schul's page, and I get a note from somebody who says, "Thanks, Esther. I noticed you live in Los Angeles. If you're ever in Jerusalem, feel free to stop by." I am going to feel free to stop by because I got a personal invitation. And even if I don't know Charlie, even if I don't know where the shul is, I'm going to look it up when I come to town because it's a deeper level of engagement. And that's just a very simple place to start. I deal also with the Young Leadership Department at Federation in Los Angeles, which we just renamed YALA, which is Young Adults of Los Angeles, but also YALA. And so, one of the things that I've urged them to do, I don't deal with their social media, somebody else does, but she knows this instinctively because she's in her 20s, is that if somebody says, I like this, or somebody says, great picture, she always responds with something like, thanks so much, come to our next event, it's going to be awesome. Even that level, which is it's not even personal, but it is a personal one-to-one connection. And that's what a lot of people, especially with social organizations, are looking to make a one-to-one connection.
And also just to jump off on what we talked about with the fundraising, so here too, to get it kind of jump-started, you can call your 10 closest friends and say, I did this, could you like it please? All right, because then their friends see it. And it starts to create a buzz. So keep in mind that something like just clicking on a like can become very viral.
Well, another question? Okay,
Hi.
last one.
Neil from the UK, CEO of a national youth organisation. It's a future question, maybe not the future, maybe it's already here, about convergence in terms of technology. To use the mercurialism of the medium is the message and moving to smartphone apps and the way that technology is changing, about how we can use it not just for broadcasting and two-way conversation, but having an impact on the beneficiaries that our charities are working for. So there are things like creating tailor-made apps for organisations that can retrieve data from membership data to voting and liking products and services that we offer to accreditation and those kind of things. Where do you see the next stage of social media and technology, mobile technology going? And has Pandora's box been opened now that the expectations of where people think it could be are not as ahead as where charities' resources maybe are?
So we're futurists now, right? So we're gazing into our crystal balls. And basically what I do see, I can't tell you which apps or which websites or even, okay, let's face it, Apple's going to be around for a while, but I can't guarantee which of our products will be obsolete in the next 6 months, let alone 5 years. But I can tell you that I think that we're used now to our media being social, and I think we're used to sharing, and I think that culture is going to deepen and expand. I think that we're going to continue to seek out ways to connect with people beyond geographical borders and lines because we can. And I think that those trends are going to lead to some very important impact both on us as a human society and on the micro organizations or charities that we work for. I think that the hyper-local is also going to become important and kind of in tandem with this globalization. I think people are also going to realize that they need local as well. And it's even on the basic level of, of media sites doing hyper-local advertising, so they want the eyeballs of the people who are in the region to come to people who own the eyeballs to come to their stores or whatever the story is. But I think that people know that they need their local community too, but that they'll likely have a point of connection with them online as well, in addition to the in-person.
I think in terms of technology, there's definitely a convergence where online, mobile, and desktop apps will probably use the same apps. I mean, it's already happening, and they just have kind of different skins for the different platforms. Obviously, we're moving to the cloud. If Google has its way, none of us are going to buy Microsoft Office anymore. We're just going to subscribe to Google Apps, and they'll update it for us, and everything will be fine. I think those are trends to look at. I'm not sure which way they're going. I think also it's really important what Esther said in a previous question, where we're not sure what's going to be around for how long, but to use it while it's relevant. And I think that things will morph into other things. So for instance, when geolocation services started, I was really excited because I was probably one of 10 people that was using them in Jerusalem. And I felt like we were creating a digital map of Jerusalem. Now, I preferred GoWalla to Foursquare. Okay, so GoWalla doesn't exist anymore. Now it's Foursquare. But the map is still there. The information's there. And I find that very exciting that when we're in this kind of front edge of technology, the cutting edge, we don't know where it's going. The information's not going to disappear. It's all there. And how we're going to use it and how we're going to shape it, I think is really, to a large part, up to all of us.
Well, I want to thank our two presenters, Esther and Charlie. And I have only one sentence to say for the conclusion. I don't know how it jumped into my head now, and I'm not sure whether I quote it right or not, but I suppose you also Avatar. And there was a sentence that I think it said that we have the right, or I have the right, or we have the right to fail, but not the right to fear. I'm not so sure whether, I agree with it, but I think it fits in here right that we have the right to fail maybe once or twice. We continue to start, and we don't have to fear from the social media options. So let's get out of there and try. Okay.
Thank you, Dorit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.